Hi there guys, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. Amongst other things, I'm a reenactor and a jouster, and as a result of this, or maybe not as a result, maybe just because of how I am, I like horses, and I like historical horses. Quite a long time ago now, about 4 years ago, Lindy Beige did a video asking why would anyone choose to ride a horse into battle. And a lot of what he was talking about in that video comes from an understanding of modern horses. Things like horses being a flight animal, horses spooking at a plastic bag, flapping along, and that sort of thing. I just wanted to do a video about that because I think this is a prevailing thought amongst people who maybe don't have first-hand experience with horses. So one of the things that you need to bear in mind is that horses are not always a flight animal. In the wild, generally mares tend towards a flight mentality, whereas stallions tend towards a fight mentality. Now this is to ensure the survival of the herd. The mares and the adolescents run away from danger, while the stallions, that's the males, they are willing to fight against it, and they will fight against predators, and they will also fight against each other in order to gain control of a herd. Okay, so not all horses have that flight mentality built in. Okay, the other thing that you've got to bear in mind is that horses, being a herd animal, tend to gain their courage, as it were, from the rest of their herd. Now, when you're a rider, you are part of that herd. Not only that, you are usually the leader of the herd. Okay, so you're kind of the alpha, as it were. I don't know if we generally talk about horses having alphas, but you're giving that horse confidence. If the rider is not confident, then the horse will lose confidence as well. Okay, you see this all the time with new riders. If the horse sees something moving out of the corner of their eye, the horse might shy away from it, which might then scare the person, which then feeds into the horse's anxiety, and it creates this bubbling pool of anxiety that makes the horse more likely to run away. The same horse with the same trigger being ridden by a more experienced and more confident rider is likely to have a very different reaction to that thing. Okay, just because of their nature as a herd animal. Okay, another thing is that we have been selecting horses for hundreds of years now to make them easy riders. Okay, it's although we've only really recently, in the grand scheme of things, stopped using horses in active battlefield roles, you'd be surprised at how quickly you can select for certain traits in a horse. Most of the heavy horses that in the until recent times were used on farms are actually extremely recent breeds as well. Okay, things like shires and things like that would never have been seen in the 15th and 16th century. They are they're much more recent. Okay, now what this means is over hundreds of years of not using horses in frontline battlefield roles, we have been selecting positive traits to do with personality, and those positive traits tend to make the horse more docile and easier to use. Because if you're just using a horse for riding and you don't want it to charge into battle, you select those traits and you breed for those traits that allow you, to walk around the horse without it kicking you, or to put the bridle on without it biting you. Okay, now if you are trying to breed horses for a frontline battlefield role, then you are going to select for very different traits. And so those personality traits within the horses are going to come out more and more with each successive generation. And in the medieval period, that is entirely what happens. Okay, They are breeding horses for that frontline battlefield role, and they are choosing traits that are desirable in that. Okay. One of the other traits, other than just the aggression and the bravery that they're selecting for, is height and weight carrying ability. Now, I mentioned Shire horses just now. One of the things that we see a lot with misconceptions with people is thinking that medieval knights would have to ride a heavy horse such as a Shire horse or a Percheron, because otherwise the horse wouldn't be able to carry the weight of the knight with the armor on its back. Now this isn't true. Obviously, like I've just said, the Shire horse, the heavy horses, didn't exist in the medieval period, and in fact horses were a lot smaller than most horses nowadays. Most medieval horses are under 15 hands, and we have evidence of this. To put that into perspective, if you don't use hands as a measurement, we tend to only use them for horses nowadays. A hand is 4 inches. Okay, so 15 hands high is what we would consider a small horse nowadays. But in the medieval period, they're not selecting for tall horses. There's no reason for them to do it. Show jumping isn't a thing. Okay, that's one of the big things that we want tall horses for, because the taller a horse is, generally the better it will be at jumping over something. Okay. Another reason why you would want a smaller horse is that if you need to mount it quickly in battle, then it's easier to do that if the horse is shorter. Obviously, if you fall off a horse, the higher up you are, the greater the impact. Okay, so they also don't want that. So they're breeding horses to be just big enough to carry a man in armor and just strong enough to carry a man in armor. And they can actually have shorter horses for that because they are mostly using stallions. Stallions, as well as being more aggressive and generally braver, stallions can also put on a lot more muscle mass. They still have everything intact down below, so they produce a lot more testosterone than even geldings. And testosterone allows you to build muscle, it allows you to get stronger. So when you see a lot of the early Renaissance paintings of horses, actually show them really heavily muscled, and that's not the artist making a mistake there. We're looking at extremely well-trained horses that are being selected for their weight carrying ability, but also being quite small. But they're also stallions, so they're able to build that muscle really, really well. So I hope this has given you some idea as to why a medieval person would choose to use a horse, or even going back to antiquity. We're not talking about modern riding horses. We're talking about animals that in the wild fight each other, fight other things, big, strong, beefy animals. If you've ever been near an angry stallion, then you know they are not, they're not the kind of thing that will run away from a paper bag. They will jump on a paper bag and they will grind it into the ground if they see it. So we're not talking about the horses that you saw on your riding holiday, or the ponies that you saw your niece riding. We're talking about something very different, which are being selected specifically for specific jobs. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this has been interesting to you. Hopefully it's given you a better idea of what medieval horses are like. And if you liked it, please leave a like. Please share with someone that you know that peddles the idea that war horses are a terrible idea. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Thanks very much. Bye bye.